Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video, and welcome to episode 104 of Ask Bossk Bounty. This is of course a weekly series where you ask me questions in the comment section below, and every week I do my very best to answer them for you. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, be sure to leave it in the comment section below, and hopefully you'll be featured next week. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below, because that really does help the video and the channel. And for anybody that likes to dislike videos, unfortunately your dislike will no longer be shown on the videos. That's something that YouTube has changed, and just for the record, I do not agree with it. I happen to think that people should be able to express exactly how they feel. If they don't like a video, they can put a thumbs down on it. But anyway, with all that being said, let's get straight on to the first question. How 9000 says, has the new Vintage Collection pack, Mando, Grogu and Spiders, been given a pre-order date yet? And more importantly, is it a Walmart exclusive like the last Din Djarin Child 2-pack? So unfortunately, yes, it is going to be a Walmart exclusive, which I know is a complete pain for everyone in trying to order that thing. However, in terms of the order date and when it comes out, nobody really knows yet. They did state that it's going to be one of those ones where you order it and then a couple of weeks later it appears. Basically, they described it as having a better pre-order experience, whereby you don't have to wait months and months and months for the product, for it only to get cancelled 2 weeks before you're supposed to get it. So hopefully it'll be sometime in the new year. My guess would be around February, March. The Force is with Jesse. Hi there, my friend. He says, while I'm here, question for next week. Which Let's Go With 5 figures from the 3.75 inch Black Series line do you think are most likely to be re-released in the Vintage Collection? Yeah, that's a difficult one, because we've had quite a few of them and some of them just aren't up to scratch anymore, basically. So I can tell you some that I don't think ever will now, and they're the Clone Trooper ones, the ones that use the Captain Rex mould. I think the big hoo-ha that the community gave out when they announced that Captain Rex, I don't think they'll be doing those ones anytime soon. The other ones that use the same mould, like I think it's Commander Thorn, is it? And the one that looks like Doctor Doom, those colours, I can't remember his name. But I can tell you some of the ones that I would like for them to do, and I've got a few of them in front of you here. So I would love them to do Dutch Vander. Now, I think the only way they could really improve on this figure is if they gave him Luke Skywalker's legs, so we would get the ball-jointed hips. That would improve this figure, but I really do love this figure. And that would look great on a vintage style card, and that would give us something that's not from the original 96 but from the original trilogy on a vintage style card, which I'm sure a lot of people that collect the Vintage Collection would like to see. Another one would be this one here, Mossep Binid. I think this is a great figure. He actually came with rocker ankles, believe it or not, so he would be a good one. Another one from the OT that would be good on a vintage style card. In terms of ones that I think that they will do in the future, we have Padme here from the Attack of the Clones. This is a great figure. I think this one from the Black Series could easily be repacked into the Vintage Collection, maybe even next year, because obviously we are getting Mace Windu re-released, and of course it is the anniversary of Attack of the Clones, so that is entirely possible. And also the Anakin that goes with him as well. I know the community at large would love that Anakin to be released in the Vintage Collection, because of course that is the Anakin that we see for the majority of the film, unlike the peasant Anakin that we already got. Another one that I would love for them to do, just to round this up, would be Pablo Gil. He's the Jedi. I think he's from Attack of the Clones as well. That's a great looking figure, and that's not one that I've got, so I would love for them to do that one as far as repacks go. We now have a couple of questions about the quality of the Stormtroopers 4-pack that a lot of people are getting in the community. I'm seeing quite a few images on Instagram, which obviously is the reason for these questions. And the first one is from channel member The Mobile Nodes. Great episode, Tim. Question for next week. With images of the Stormtrooper 4-pack showing some issues with quality control, are you worried that Hasbro might be cutting corners on production for this set, and that their quality control may be generally going downhill? And Colin McClintock pretty much asks the same question. Now, I'm always a bit wary about this sort of thing, because of course when there is a problem it gets highlighted. When there isn't a problem, people don't usually sort of go, look how great my paint is on a Stormtrooper. However, it does look like there is an issue. There are far too many cases out there for it not to be a problem. I haven't actually received my set yet, so I can't make too much of a comment on it. I do know I have seen some people's that have been okay. I think Jason from Yakface got a set and his were in the main okay. I think Victoria's Cantina got a set. She did a review on them, and I think maybe one of them was dodgy. But in terms of the quality control for this particular pack, I think there could potentially be an issue with them. Of course, we're going to have to see more people getting hold of them. People have been getting them from Shop Disney. We'll have to see what they look like when they arrive from Pulse, which is where I've ordered them from. But in terms of quality control in general across the whole line, I don't think that's so much of an issue. I mean, I've seen the odd Lando Calrissian with a moustache halfway across his face or something like that. But in the main, the figures that I've got, I haven't really had a problem with. Of course, they are mass produced. You are going to get the odd paint error here and there. But sure enough, don't get me wrong, it does look like there is an issue with those Stormtrooper 4-packs. And I'll just have to make judgment when I get my own set. Commander Thorne says, question for next week, and it'd be great if you could answer this one. What would be your ideal Phase 2 Clone Trooper in terms of articulation? Feel free to take articulation from other figures. All right, so let's get into this, because I think a lot of people know that I, in the main, am not overly happy with this sculpt of the Phase 2 Clone Trooper that we seem to be getting, and they're using it a lot in repainting for other figures, like the majority of the Bad Batch 4-pack are using this thing. So in the main, I think it's okay in terms of articulation. There's a couple of things that I feel that it could have. It could do with a split at the thigh, and it could do with rocker ankles. So I would love for this figure to be like the Rogue One Stormtrooper, but with rocker ankles. That for me would be pretty perfect. This particular thing here, for me, isn't really about the articulation. It's more about the mold, the sculpt. So I've always felt that this figure is far too skinny, and when you look at his legs there, they're too skinny. Very much like the animated line, I feel. It just doesn't look like you could get a human being in this armour, realistically. You know, he's far too skinny. And then because of that, obviously the removable helmet, let's just take that off, is too big. It's oversized. So, and to be honest, he's got quite a weenie head, so I don't really know why it's like that, but they need to sort those two issues out, in my opinion, on the Clone Trooper to make him perfect. They need to give us a not such a skinny body and a more in-scale helmet. And then if they gave him the rocker ankles and the split of the thigh, then you've got pretty much the definitive Clone Trooper. The Hyperspace Vault says, hey Tim, congrats on 100 episodes. With the G.I. Joe HasLab Sky Striker using the original moulds from the 80s with additional accessories, do you think this is going to set a precedence for future Star Wars TVC vehicle releases going to HasLab? Whoa, I certainly hope not. I don't really think there's too many vintage collection vehicles that they could like redo in HasLab, except for maybe the AT-AT. But I would think the AT-AT would be a standard release, very much like they did with the Millennium Falcon, if they were ever going to really re-release that. So in terms of existing molds becoming HasLab, I certainly hope not, and I don't think so. I think HasLab, especially in Star Wars, is reserved for those dream items. So, you know, like your Razor Crest, like your Barge, things like that. So hopefully they won't do that. What does worry me, though, with your question, is that they might start using the original vintage molds for the retro collection, because I really don't want that. I don't need a vintage Millennium Falcon. I've already got one, and for the price that they'd probably charge for those things, I think you could probably be better off getting a vintage one. Keith Shadbolt says, great show as always. Question for next week. I'm loving the new High Republic books and wondered whether you thought we would get any figures like we did back in the day with the Power of the Force 2, Shadows of the Empire, / Expanded Universe. May the Force be with you. Yeah, I don't think they'll do that, like a sneak peek type thing. I don't think they'll probably do that. I think it will be more that we'll get those when they make a film or a TV show. And I do believe that there was a rumour just the other day about a potential series around the Old Republic and maybe a movie around the High Republic. So if they do a movie about the High Republic, then you can expect figures, but I don't think they'll do them before that. Intelligent Chimp says, I'll make my question from last week shorter. Do you think a modern line of Indiana Jones figures would be popular? I think it would. I absolutely love the Indiana Jones franchise. Started collecting some of the 2008 Hasbro figures. And I would think that with the new film coming out, when that comes out, I don't think Hasbro or whoever it is will miss a trick. There will be some kind of figures. We'll just have to wait and see what those are. But it would be really good that, obviously, if they were to bring out figures from the new film, that they do go back and revisit the older films as well. It would be pretty cool if they did that. Noctilia says, question for Ask Boss Bounty. Do you think we'll ever get a Jek 14 figure, whether that be in the Vintage Collection or the Black Series? So Jek 14, that's a Lego thing, right? I think that's, what is he, like a clone Sith thing from Lego? I don't know if we'll ever get one of those in figure form. It may even be something that's only exclusive to Lego. I don't know. It might be like, you know, they've licensed that thing. I don't think there's ever been like a video game or anything like that that's included in. So gaming greats can be out of the equation for something like that. So no, I don't think they will, unless of course that character becomes an actual character in one of the new media films or TV shows. Horror Fan says, question for next week. They recently released the Rey Skywalker lightsaber plus the Leia saber. And I'm a little confused because Hasbro hasn't released any Rise of Skywalker toys because people hated the movie. I'd love to hear your opinion. So I think with the lightsabers a little bit different. I also think the Rey Skywalker lightsaber was probably in production quite a long time ago. And also it's a yellow lightsaber, so it's quite a novelty thing to have in that line. As for the Princess Leia one, I think there's a lot of people out there that have always wanted Princess Leia's lightsaber, even way before the Rise of Skywalker. I think, you know, even from Legends or the Expanded Universe, you know, Leia became a Jedi and therefore had a lightsaber, and people have always wanted that. And of course, everybody loves Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, so it's a nice thing to do. So I don't think that really has anything to do with whether people enjoyed the film or not. We'll have to wait and see with the sales of it and what have you. But yeah, I think they can get away with those two items. But when it comes to figures, I think they'll probably be a bit more nervous about it. DJ Rex34 says, do you think we'll get a Sandcrawler in the Vintage Collection? It would be like the Droid Factory Sandcrawler and would have lights and sounds and have a working elevator. Yes, entirely possible that they would do that we would have a Sandcrawler in the Vintage Collection. It's a iconic enough vehicle, but for me, I think if they were going to do that, for me, I'd want them to do it properly and do it real justice, proper scale. And for that, I think unfortunately it'd have to be a HasLab, but could you imagine how well they would do it, judging by the barge and the Razor Crest? If they were to do a Sandcrawler, it would be immense, and that would be probably my number one choice for the next HasLab. I would absolutely love that. J-Man22 says, Yakface posted a Vintage Collection logo inspired the Book of Boba Fett, so hopefully we get them revealed this year. So this isn't really a question, more of a statement, but yes, he did. He posted the Vintage Collection logo with the colours of the Book of Boba Fett, and it sent everyone into meltdown that they thought on the very next day on the Bring Home the Bounty, I think it was last Tuesday, they thought that we were going to be getting reveals for the Vintage Collection, and then when we didn't, I think Jason actually got a bit of grief for it. I mean, he didn't actually say, like, you know, these are going to be revealed on this day or anything. He was just giving a tease out there, you know. I think it's pretty obvious that we will be getting the Book of Boba Fett figures in the Vintage Collection. We're just going to have to be a little bit patient, but who knows, maybe it'll be this week in the Bring Home the Bounty that we get those. But I think it's pretty obvious to everybody what characters we will probably get. And talking about the Book of Boba Fett as well, did you notice these two guys? I think that was the other species, but there was definitely some Trandoshans at a dinner table with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. And is one of them Bossk? Who knows? But it's great to see this sort of thing in the Book of Boba Fett, because I've got a feeling the Book of Boba Fett is going to be full of things like this, alien characters, and that can only mean good things for the Vintage Collection, because hopefully we'll get some of those characters going forward. There was a Hammerhead as well, so come on Hasbro, you know what to do. Rob Chewbacca says, BB, question for 104. What figure do you consider to have the worst face with the modern face scanning paint tech? Wow, do you mean like a whole new figure, or do you mean like a reissue that's had photo real? I'm going to take it that you mean a new one, because you're talking about scanning. So I've got to say that new George Lucas Stormtrooper, for me, did not look anything like George Lucas, and I haven't ordered one of those. I love the card back, of course, and I like the concept of it, but I don't think they've nailed that face sculpt at all. That's just my opinion. Of course, you know, when you want to talk about when they've done it right, you just need to look at people like Antok Merrick from the Vintage Collection, or the Lando Calrissian figure. That's when they do it right. But for me, that George Lucas was, yeah, it did not look like George Lucas, in my opinion. All right then, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, as always, thank you so much to my Patreon supporters and my channel members. I really, really do appreciate the support. It means so much to me. So thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, if I said earlier, if you do happen to enjoy the video, don't forget to drop a like down below. And if you're new to the channel and you've just discovered my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications, and we shall see you on the next one.